much. Welcome to everyone, wherever you may be located. This is the Quest for Your English Ancestors. This is a very intense presentation. We will have a syllabus for you, and there are probably, we're going to cover a gamut of information. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about, we're going to be doing free and paid websites, censuses, directories, and vital records, and church records. Also monumental inscriptions, which is what they're called in England. These are the inscriptions that are on a tombstone. And military records, as well as probate records, the poor law records, and a variety of additional records. This is not a one-place capture-all. There are many other records available to do research in England. This is just the tip of the iceberg. My hope is that by the time of the end of this webinar that you will have taken away at least one or two resources that you may never have thought of to check for your researching your ancestors. So here we start off with a list of free internet sites, and we'll bring them all in. Here we go, and then we can discuss them. Let me go back one. And the first one, of course, is British Genealogy, and then to manage so that we don't waste time reading what's on the screen as much as possible. These are the websites. We will discuss some of them in length, and we'll go on to the paid websites, which would be Ancestry and your British Origins and World Vital Records. So let's review some of these sites together before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of actual records within these sites. At british.genealogy.com, they have amassed a collection of records, and everything they have on here is free. Some of their links will link to other sites that cost money. However, their site itself, along with many items to help you learn, provide your resource and knowledge, are also available for free. Some of the helps that they provide is what documents look like and how to identify primary sources. They provide a myriad of resources for family history research in England. Free access to BMD, which is now part of Ancestry, is also a great website to get information from the indexes of the birth, marriages, and death. Note that this is a volunteer site and is not 100% correct, and we'll go into this a little bit more. Here you actually can see, by clicking on that little icon there, where they've actually completed and the different census records that they have gotten up to. And people actually often will wonder, well, I know my person should be there, but they can't find them. And here's just a sample of what their statistics look like. And so it tells you how many births, marriages, and deaths they've actually done up to a certain point in time. And so this might help you to understand why your particular individual may not be there. The next website is genuki.org.uk. This is a great website. It's been around for a long time. Many designs within it mirror some of the catalogs that are set up in the Family Search, Family History Library catalog on FamilySearch.org. This is a great website. There's tremendous resources available here. If you notice, you should recognize the pattern of archives and bibliography, all in the same manner as the catalog located on the Family History Library catalog on FamilySearch.org. The next is the England Gen Web Project. This is another volunteer effort that's put out by individuals. Notice that there are different done by counties, and there's an individual that's hosted that's responsible for getting that particular website up. Each county has an individual, and then within that county they show you the resources that are available. The Guild of One Name Studies is sponsored by the Society, is another particular great resource. You can check and see if someone's doing research on your particular surname. In this case, I picked a surname called Chapman. It's one of the lines on my husband's side. Note before I go and show you the results of putting that in that the cost is usually no more than $24 a year to do this. So here we have the Guild of One Name Societies, and I've put in Chapman, and here I get from that information an individual that's also researching Chapman's. Now, a one-name study takes in all resources about that one particular individual, and so perhaps that individual would have information on the Chapman lines that are on my husband's side of the family. The membership includes 6 yearly journals, which are really great publications. I've had great success in reading their journals and getting research through different lines. I've been able to connect on multiple places through these one-name societies. Of course, FamilySearch.org, there's a lot that could be said about it. We have many, many collections. We are constantly growing and constantly adding. As of yesterday, when I took this new screenshot, we now have 76 collections just for the United Kingdom. Just all resources that are available for individuals researching in England. Cindy's list continues to amaze me as her sites continue to grow. This is a great collection of information if you want to know of places and little websites that you may not have found or that are obscure. They submit them to Cindy's list, and they are just wonderful. They create a great extra resource that you may not consider and a place to look for new websites to go find additional databases. Origins Network is a paid website. They have many, many different databases. They're not as large as Ancestry or Find My Past. I would consider them to be more unique and more specialized. They do have a wonderful National Wills Index, which is very, very good, and they provide great resources in different databases that others do not have. There's, as you can see, British Origins, Irish Origins, and Scots Origins. If you're in a family history center or the Family History Library, this site is available for free. I always like to check what's new. They always have something that I didn't expect, and I'm always amazed at the new stuff they add all the time. They always have a long list of new records that they've added, and they're constantly adding more and more all the time. I would recommend their collections, especially the National Wills Index that continues to grow. Of course, not much can be said about Ancestry that hasn't been said, but they now have over 500, almost 600 databases for English research. I might want to suggest that you pick an individual collection to do a search rather than doing a general search. Lots of times you will get better results. Then findmypast.co.uk is quickly coming to be a great asset to all of us English researchers. Their selection of records is amazing, and they have many records to offer, and they keep adding more and more. Their Chelsea pension records are fantastic. The immigration records are just amazing, from England to Australia or England to other countries. They keep adding more and more. I am amazed. The boys' marriage indexes are now here on Find My Past. They used to be on British Origins, but they're no longer there. They're on Find My Past. And so this is a great website to find English ancestors. The genealogist.co.uk is another great resource. We have found that they provide great additional help, and they have some unique ways to search, which makes finding people a little bit easier. You can search for a whole family when you just know the first names. They have little tiny, just little things that make their site just that little bit different, that makes it worthwhile to check out and to find your ancestry. If you have struggled on other websites and you've wondered, well, why would I want to look at another website that has another index of the same census that I just saw on Ancestry or Find My Past? Every single person that looks at a record looks at something differently, and each company will index a record differently. And so when you can't find something on one website, it's always a good idea to check the other website, because different people have indexed each of those census records, and they've indexed them on different fields. And so it's always a good idea to check the multiplicity of availability of different locations. This is some of their unique search tools. They have what they call a smart search. And notice that it says here that you can search for children born to a couple using the father's surname and the mother's maiden name. You can find a birth record from the death record at the click of a button. They have unique mapping abilities. It's a great resource. Last but not least, the World Vital Records website has some great records to offer also. And if you know, they are now part of MyHeritage, and they continue to grow and add more resources all the time. Now we're going to go on to some of the nuts and bolts of the actual research process. The first thing I want to talk about is the naming pattern. Now I want you to understand that this is not in stone. It's just something to be aware of when you're struggling and trying to figure out where to go for looking for what is possibly could be the father's name. These are some of the things that you might want to consider. There is a naming pattern because the mother's names may not have been taken and they're not passed down in a marriage. So we have the first son that's named after the father's father, the second son that's named after the mother's father, the first daughter named after the mother's mother, and the second daughter named after the father's mother. Often the mother's maiden name was used as a middle name for the first son or daughter, like in this example, which is a perfect example from my husband's family, of James Simpson Banks and Jane Neal Lockhart. These are middle names that are also last names of their mothers, and this was common in this time period. Last but not least, this is Ernest Reynolds Jimson, and he was fought in World War II, and unfortunately he was killed in action, but his middle name was after his mother's maiden name. Now the English census returns. Actual images for England are available online and in Ancestry, of course, and we are a number of free indexes that are available throughout. And they only have the transcribed Scotland census images. Find My Past has a 1911 census, and I know that Ancestry now has it. And this is available in the Family History Centers and the Family History Library, available for free. Maybe you may not be aware of, but there were some earlier census records that were taken between 1801 and 1831. However, they were not like the censuses in 1841 where they listed every name in the household. If you notice, it says here that the 1801 Census Act asked local officials to provide information on the number of uninhabited and inhabited places. And if you look, here's a sample of the listings where it gives the head of the household and then the number of individuals in the number of females, number of males, very similar to the early census records that were prominent, that we have in the United States from the 1790 to the 1840. Now, many of these records are not available. That's just a plain fact. But there are fragments that are available. And the University of Essex has created a PDF that you can download. And this is exactly what it says, the census schedules and listings 1801 to 1831. And it was done in 2004 through the University of Essex staff. And they've compiled a list by area of where those records are and what survived. So for instance, Cambridge and St. Benedict, it's telling you this is the Cambridge Record Office, and the source is this particular individual under the Chapman Code, and it tells you the type of information it provides. And this whole PDF has a list of all the scraps or fragments of these early census